This is my intro music. Welcome to the video. I hope you like it lots, so don't forget to subscribe and click the thumbs up button. Now let's react.
Hey, hi, hello there, and welcome to another episode of An Anthropologist Watches QuirkyLoveRosee. Okay, look, I've been ranting for a half hour and I didn't have the thing recording, so let's see if I can summarize this quickly. All right, look, I want to talk about Rosie. And I want to summarize everything I've been ranting about for a half hour into something quick because I don't want to do this whole half hour rant again. I haven't made a video about Rosie in a while. And the reason for that is because I've been trying to there hasn't really been much to talk about with Rosie that I haven't already said before. And B, there has been some stuff developing that I wanted to talk about, but I haven't really completely formed my thoughts around it. And so this video might be a little disjointed, but this is my first attempt at it, okay? So bear with me. I'm going to try not to ramble too much because I've already been rambling and I didn't have the thing recording, so you got lucky. All right, first things first. I want to talk about the disturbing trend in Rosie's behavior that I've been noticing. And I'm not talking about the behavior that Rosie had before she left the internet. And that before stuff is the softcore feederism, the softcore feederism, basically. I don't care what Rosie says. I don't care if she wants to call it a mukbang. Technically, I guess it's an eat with me a mukbang. She uses the wrong definition of a mukbang. I don't know where the hell she's getting this definition, but it is not correct. And if you compare Rosie's eat with me shit that she does in the kitchen after she makes her meals, it's feeder porn. I'm sorry. The fact that you refuse to admit that, I don't, girl, why? Just why? Anyway, since Rosie's come back and she's been doing mostly lives, I don't think she's put out much, if any, pre-recorded content. She's added some new levels of problem to her content, and mostly it revolves around not age restricting her content. This is not a great example of what I'm going to complain about, but a couple of the things that almost called her Amber, Rosie has done is she's come back. She's wearing incredibly low cut outfits, shirts that barely stay on her body. She's really got her boobs hanging out. She's not wearing undergarments on the top, and it's evident that she's not. I mean, it's really pushing TOS as far as decency. The TOS indecency. And it's something. And she doesn't age restrict her content, which if you want to age restrict your content, you know what, knock yourself out. But she won't age restrict it. And she comes up with all these excuses as to why she won't or she can't. And she's been proven to be wrong in all of her excuses. There's a really great channel called Aren't You Exhausted that does a really great job of kind of examining and taking apart Rosie's complaints about why she can't age restrict her lives and stuff like that. I will link Aren't You Exhausted's channel down below. They do some really great content into Rosie, a very small channel. So Rosie will, of course, neg talk them because that's what Rosie does to smaller channels. And another really great channel is Scar Letter, which I've been watching as well, who also does some really great content on Rosie. And those two channels are the ones I've been watching the most. There are a lot of really great small creators who are doing some really good deep dives and just critical analysis of Rosie's content since Rosie has come back to the internet. All right. And I don't want to take away from the work that they're doing because I think they're doing a fabulous job. I know there's larger channels as well. I know Charlie Gold has been really going in on Rosie. I know Zachary Michael has made an absolutely fabulous video about Rosie and her parasocial bullshit with him, which was an amazing video. I really will. I will link that down below as well because Jesus Christ, Rosie. So that's some of the new problematic behavior that Rosie has been demonstrating since she came back from her hiatus on the internet. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is the people that Rosie is choosing to associate with, and the side of Gorlwold, the darker side of Gorlwold, that Rosie is choosing to fraternize with. Am I using that correctly? Probably not. I don't give a shit. First things I want to talk about first is this guy. I'm not entirely sure who exactly this dude is. Every time I ask, I get a different name. All I know is I watched the stream. He was called Bad Guy in the stream. He says that that's a sock account, so I know that's not his actual, like, main account name on here. People know who he is, and that's important to know, because while Rosie was doing this near half-naked interview with this man, as you can see, her chat was going ballistic about telling her to not have him on her channel. They did not want her interviewing him. They didn't want him collaborating with him on this channel. Now, a couple of things about this. One, this guy, I find out, has like a perpetual undergraduate in psychology, which means he's just been going to school forever. It's obviously he's picking shit up, because he literally manipulated her from the beginning of this. This was a two-hour, give or take, collaboration between the two of them. He manipulated her from the beginning till the end. And the end being, he left. He got pissed off at her chat, and he left. And the way he left, he made her feel like it was her fault. Dude, no. I saw what you did. Well played, but no. Anyway, he got pissed off at her chat because they were calling him out for his shit. And so he was like, fine. And so he said something nasty to Rosie about her listening to her chat. And he just left. I know where I'm not wanted. And he leaves. And it's like, yeah, dude, don't let the door hit you on the way out. So yeah, that was kind of interesting to watch. That was terrifyingly interesting to watch. I actually, at one point myself, I will admit, I did get into her chat and I was like, Rosie, you need to stop now. This is not good. Please stop. And I got yelled at for that. Anyway, but it took one of her mods rage quitting for Rosie to finally stop talking to him and get him off of her channel. One of her long-term mods rage quit. And that's what finally fucking got her attention. Okay. That's how much she disregarded her chat in order to maintain his attention on her. Now, again, I don't really know who he is. I haven't really done any kind of digging into who he is. What I know about him was kind of told to me while I was watching this. I do know that he is connected somehow to Shanny for Christ, who we will very briefly talk about because it is relevant. But somehow he is connected to Shanny for Christ, and that connection comes up, and that is what finally gets her to pretend like she realizes that he's not a good person. His name is Bad Guy. Come on. I didn't know about him beforehand. Her chat and her mods did. Right? So the people she should have been listening to were screaming at her not to do this, and she did it anyway, ignoring them. And then she has this up still. This is still available to be watched. What are we doing? Nothing. Okay, good. This is amazing. You should go watch it. We're not going to watch it. This isn't what we're watching today. Maybe we will eventually go over it. It's uncomfortable to watch. It's an uncomfortable watch. All right, we are going to watch this one. Something to remember, though. Before Rosie left, and actually this kind of led to Rosie leaving, Amber, we're going to talk about Amber. Amber was dating Emily, aka Tommy, and they had broken up. And Rosie decided it was a good idea to leave a public comment on Emily's Instagram page about Rarity. And of course, Amber saw that and started DMing Rosie on Instagram and going off, because that's what Amber does. There is nothing surprising happening here, right? And so Rosie continues to antagonize Amber through the DMs, going back and forth through the DMs, basically poking the bear. And then decides to publish those DMs, I think on Twitter. Either way, publishes them so where everyone can see them, and was expecting Gorlwold to give her ass pats and tell her how clever she is and be part of the in crowd and part of the in joke. What ended up happening, some people did do that, but what ended up happening is a lot of the reaction channels, myself included, were like, why did you even do that? You were the one telling Amber not to talk to Tommy in the first place, because you were the one who's so anti-feederism that you were the one telling her that Tommy was going to off her with her fetish. And why the fuck were you even talking to Tommy in the first place? Like, nobody's really defending Amber. We all know she's a terrible person. And then her going off on Rosie was like, no, duh. Like, duh. Why the fuck were you talking to Tommy? Other than to upset Amber so that you could get DMs, so that you could post them for clout. And that was something that Rosie never successfully navigated and answered, right? Because there was no reason for her to be talking to Tommy. Period. There just wasn't. There was no excuse for it. And I don't know if that was exactly what got her off the internet for a little while, but it definitely started the ball rolling, because at that point, I know that there were a lot of larger reaction channels that started looking at Rosie, and things started getting uncomfortable for Rosie in Gorlwold because she started getting the negative attention she didn't want, right? And that was when a lot of the reaction channels started pointing out that even though Rosie was claiming that she didn't want to be part of Gorlwold, she sure was inserting herself into Gorlwold as much as humanly possible. And as much as she was claiming she didn't do feederism content anymore, it sure looked like she was still doing feederism content. And again, she could not satisfactorily answer those questions, and the reaction channels really started digging in, right? And she had a couple small reaction channels that really made a special project out of her, one of which being Nerfy. I'll try to remember to link Nerfy's videos down below. Nerfy is not as nice as I am, just FYI when you go to watch them. But they are very good videos. Yes? Did you get it me? You got me to the point where you broke my chair. So Rosie leaves the internet after upsetting Amber. A series of events occurred. Anyway, when Rosie leaves the internet, her and Amber are not on good terms, right? Rosie comes back. She starts making live videos again. She starts basically doing feeder stuff again, claiming that she's not doing feeder stuff again, calling it mukbangs. I don't care what you want to call it. It's not what it was. It's feeder porn. End of discussion. She doesn't age restrict her content. Amber and Tommy really break up? Amber and Emily actually break up? Question mark? I don't know. And for whatever reason, Rosie reaches out to Amber, or Amber reaches out to Rosie. One of them reaches out to the other via their DMs, and now they're friends. Now they're BFFs, right? So now they're bosom buddies. And this causes a new set of issues, because currently, this being September the 6th, this video being posted on August the 29th, currently, Amber, she's on hiatus right now, but from this all occurs during Amber's live stream, her most recent live stream era, where Amber ends with Amber getting sued by her Aunt Tammy. But a lot of shit happened in that short period of time where Amber was doing not member lives, public lives. Everything went downhill after the public lives. And that's when Rosie decided that she and Amber needed to be the new best friends of the internet. And the problem is Amber is a very problematic person. She says a lot of problematic shit. She does a lot of problematic things. And when you're someone who is going to bat for Amber in her chat, in other people's chats, and in your own lives defending her, people start asking questions as to why, which causes you problems. And originally, I was kind of like, Rosie, why are you doing this? Amber's just going to turn on you. This is not going to end well for you, because Amber turns on all of her friends. Amber doesn't have friends. Amber just has people that she uses until they're no longer valuable to her, and then she turns on them. And Amber, even on one of her last lives, said something to the effect of, Rosie will never turn on me because I've got dirt on her that she never wants the internet to know. So Amber is already thinking about blackmailing Rosie in order to protect herself. That's not something I've ever thought about doing to any of my friends, right? But it's the first thought that goes through Amber's head. So even after hearing that on one of Amber's lives, Rosie is still friends with Amber. And the only thing I can come up with after the bad guy thing, and now Amber openly admitting that she will, in fact, use any information that Rosie has given her on the internet as blackmail against her. And then the Shanny incident, which is, I want to say about 2 weeks ago, give or take. Shanny herself pops up in Rosie's chat during one of her lives. And when Shanny does, Rosie's reaction is, oh my God, is that Shanny for Christ? Like, she's excited to see Shanny there. Like, she's happy to see Shanny. And of course, not being absolute garbage people, Rosie's mods start saying, boot her, kick her, get her out of your chat. She doesn't need to be here. Make her leave. And this goes on for a little bit. And then Rosie is finally gently bullied into finally saying, get rid of Shanny. But she won't do it herself. She tells her mods to boot Shanny because I don't want beef with Shanny. You don't want beef with Shanny? Why? Why would you care? It's like saying, I don't want beef with the devil. Like, why do you care? Shanny's like one of the most vile people I can think of. Why would you care if she doesn't like you? It would be a badge of fucking honor. But for whatever reason, it is very important to her that Shanny like her. First, it's this bad guy who is incredibly problematic. Then it's Amber, who's incredibly problematic. Now Shanny, who's incredibly problematic. You want these people to like you? These are the people you want to like you? These are the people you're concerned about seeing you in a positive light. Okay, why? What's wrong with you? So her mods finally boot Shanny, and Rosie says one of the most astounding things I've ever heard her say. Not the most, just one of the most. She claims that she doesn't know that Shanny, she's had her children removed because of child ABSU. Right? She's an animal ABS user. I can't spell. I don't want to start too many like rumors because I don't know the full details, but I know that they are terrible fucking people. And they are terrible fucking people to their children. And they are terrible fucking people to their animals. Okay? I feel 100% confident saying that shit. And everyone knows this about them and has known this about them for fucking years. Okay? I knew about Shanny before I ever started reacting. There are documentaries about the two of them. And Rosie wants to be like, I didn't know that. In what fucking world do you not know that about Shanny? No. I am sorry. That is absolute bullshit. And you know it. I will not give you that pass, Rosie. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You full well, damn well know that Shanny was that person. You full well fucking know that. No. So my question still stands. Why the fuck do you care if you have beef with Shanny? Why do you want to be friendly with her? Why did you want to be friendly with bad guy? Why are you friends with Amber? I have a lot of questions, and I don't like the answers that are forming in my head because they're not great. Okay? Now, getting on to this video. Amber, in her great and infinite wisdom, Amber has been, before she left, she'll be back in, what'd she say, October? Yay, my birthday. Amber will be back for my birthday. And before she left, though, one of her final lives, she decided to double down on her accusations against Casey. If you know, you know. If you don't, we're not going into it because there's plenty of videos out there explaining it, and this isn't the one. But she decides to double down on her accusations against Casey, and then another live later, I hate repeating this joke, but it is kind of relevant. Yeah, I mean, it is relevant. She makes a joke about she has been, trigger warning, please. She has been fingered by a man without a penis. Which is important. Because again, going back to Casey. If you know, you know. If you don't, there are videos about it out there. Anyway, this, of course, enrages the internet, as it should. And Rosie decides to defend Amber. And that's what this is about. So, again, this is from August 29th. The prior stream, Rosie defends Amber's joke. Because Amber's like, no, it was a joke. Now, Amber did not say Casey's name out loud, but it's very clear who she's talking about. Right? And Amber, when confronted, doubles down on it was a joke. I heard it off of H3H3 or something like that, some trash channel she listens to. And so therefore, you should totally repeat that joke because it's funny. Ha. Anyway, Amber, we expect this kind of behavior from because it's Amber. Again, Amber's problematic. We expect this. Rosie has to defend Amber because they're friends now. And this has caused Rosie some problems. So this is Rosie's response to, again, her audience and her mods having issues with shit Rosie does that is problematic. This time being around Amber. Now, after this particular live, again being on August 29th, Rosie has been very don't talk about Amber in my lives. To her defense, she has been asking people not to talk about Amber prior to this as well, because she keeps saying, I don't want to be part of Gorlwold, so she doesn't want to talk about Amber. She doesn't want to talk about Foodie. Even though she somehow manages to talk about them almost every other live. Not for long, but almost every other live. But now it's an issue because you are publicly friends with Amber now, right? And you are publicly friends with a person who's making transphobic comments, right? And you defended that because Amber's your friend, right? So this is her response to this. This is a 32-minute long video. I am going to speed it up to, not that fast, sorry. Minute or time and a quarter, like I always do. I may end up cutting parts of it out because not everything in this is going to be particularly relevant, but I do want to go over this as the beginning of me starting to respond to Rosie's more problematic parts of her lives. Not everything Rosie does in every live is a problem. All right. I don't particularly care for her eating. I call it like I see it. It's feeder porn, period, end of discussion. I don't care what she wants to call it. It is what it is. And as soon as she starts admitting that, the sooner we'll stop telling her what it is. All right. And as soon as she starts age restricting her shit, people will stop having issues with her and her content not being either that or stop doing the things that people are having the issues with because you don't age restrict. All right. Either age restrict or stop doing the shit. Those are your options. But she does from time to time do and say things that are incredibly problematic, like her not ex guy friend who may or may not have been a predator. Whether he is or not, the way she handled the situation was a little problematic, a lot problematic. You know, that kind of a situation. Little things like that. There are things I want to talk about because it seems like Rosie is taking this weird downward spiral down the dark path of Gorlwold and moving away from being just a lol cow and moving into horror cow territory. And I don't know why you'd want to do that. Last time I tried to record this, I called Rosie a Pickme. And her behavior, I don't have a better way of explaining it other than as much as she claims she doesn't want to be part of Gorlwold, she is like the biggest pick-me girl for Gorlwold, and it's weird behavior. And I don't understand it. And the more I try to understand it, the less I like the answers I come up with. And I don't like it. I don't like it. I laugh because I don't like it. But anyway, let's watch this as the second half of this video. Like I said, I've got it sped up, and when I edit it, I will probably end up taking some of this out just because it won't there won't necessarily be all of it relevant. Here we go. And yeah, so this is me dipping my toe back into QuirkyLoveRosee for those of you who are asking. And there you go. So let's go.
To come in. So there's a lot that needs to be said, and I'm not trying to chastise anyone or be upset with anyone, but there's a lot I need to say, and yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and like I said, I'm gonna turn off my chat just because I want to be able to talk without the distraction, or like, because with the ADHD of it all. I will turn the chat back on because I think that I want to have a conversation.
I will say her turning the chat off while she was trying to do this was actually pretty smart. I'm going to give her credit where credit's due. I'm not going to just shit on her for nonstop, but I do think her turning the chat off so that she wasn't distracted while she was trying to make her point was a smart move.
But just since I'm doing this in a live format, I think that's the best way to go about this. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my chat. I will turn it back on. As I stated, one moment. So you guys, I think, can still, I'll turn it back on. I would just time them out.
Let's all take a nice deep breath. One thing I will say about Rosie that I have noticed watching her through Aren't You Exhausted and Scar Letter is how incredibly performative Rosie's behavior has become since she has returned. In that her emotional appeals have definitely started becoming more and more rehearsed feeling. Much like Amber's, much like Anna's, in that they do not feel genuine and they feel manipulative. And I think I've said things like this before Rosie left, but it definitely has amped up since she has returned, right? And we talk about this with dark anthropology, about, playing the victim and weaponizing victimhood. And I will say that I definitely perceive a lot of Rosie's behavior since she has returned as 100% being weaponized victimhood. And definitely her trying to control the narrative around her as always putting herself in the position of victim. And that is her way of deflecting, especially deflecting any kind of responsibility, is she places herself in the role of victim, trying to deflect criticism that way. Because if she's the victim, I can't criticize her. I can, actually. And also the question of is she or isn't she a victim in certain situations is also up for debate, in my opinion. That's my opinion. Because one thing I have noticed about Rosie since she has returned is that she has a remarkable way of making damn near anything about her, even if it has nothing to do with her. She finds a way to turn the conversation around and insert herself into it in some way that it makes it about her, or at least puts her into the conversation in a way that she can talk about it around herself. So these are things that I have noticed behaviorally since Quirky has returned, since Rosie has returned. So
where do I want to start? So in case you missed my last live, it started off like fun, lighthearted, and then the topic of Amber came up because obviously there's been a lot happening on that side of the internet and in her life, and there's been comments that she has made that I just did not want to add to the dogpiling of, and I did not want to add to the discourse on, and I did not want to publicly, I don't even know what the word is, I guess publicly decimate for her for, and
I don't think that's the word you wanted, but it's okay.
I wanted to be able to talk to her privately about these things and handle it that route.
But did you talk to her privately about it?
And I felt that I was handling it in a way where I was being more neutral and I was being more,
see what I'm talking about with the performativeness?
I guess just trying to be understanding that maybe she didn't intend it in the way that it was being taken, but regardless, the impact is the impact, right?
She is currently, in case you got lost with all my rambling, she's currently talking about the tasteless transphobic joke that Amber made, that we are all positive it was about Casey. Amber will later come out to say that, no, it's not about Casey, and it's totally about Casey, but anyway.
I'm somebody that has always believed in the saying, intent does not equal impact. And because I intend for a lot of things. I intend to, do things in ways that are meant to not harm people, but you can still harm people. And I've decided that I need to distance myself from her and her content because I have a mod here. I'm not going to name them. Some of you may know who I'm talking about, but I have a mod who has been a part of my community for a while, who did say I could talk about this, and who did say I got their permission. I had a good long conversation with him. He is a trans man, and he's someone that I know knows me, at least on a parasocial level. And
she ever since Zachary Michael has made a video about Rosie being parasocial with them, Rosie has been insistent on using the word parasocial every third word, and she is not using it correctly 80% of the time. But she is insistent on using that damn word. So every time she says parasocial, I'm just gonna I don't think that's what you meant, but okay. I would like to point out that once again, it has taken the intervention of Rosie's mods to get Rosie to pay attention to something that should not have taken the intervention of her mods to do. Rosie says she's some kind of advocate, she's some kind of ally, and yet one of her mods had to come to her privately and be like, hey, by the way, right? This is the third time that I have mentioned in this video that her mods have come to her about her problematic behavior and her problematic decisions during her lives, right? this happened after the live, I guess, in between that live and this live, as opposed to the other two that were occurring during the lives. But it's still one of her mods coming to her about her behavior during her live. Like, are they your mods or are they your babysitters? Like, because it's beginning to feel like they're your babysitters.
Who I know values me as a creator, as a person, and my community, and has been around for like a while. Like, this is a long-standing person in my community. And my opinion, or excuse me, the opinion of my community matters to me.
Okay. Where? When? Is the opinion of your community in the room with us?
A lot. It does. When I walked away from that last live, anytime where long-standing subscribers turn on me, especially in multiple, multiple people, not just like one-off situation or one-off person, clearly I'm doing something wrong. And I have to sit in that uncomfortability and figure it out. So I think the live ended, I don't know, like 4 hours ago. So
I mean, I would assume that the people who were talking about what made them upset was pretty obvious. I can go through the chat log later and we can look, but I'm willing to bet they were telling you what made them uncomfortable.
This is still pretty fresh and I'm still processing and I'm still trying to figure it out. But one of the things that was said to me in that conversation, because he was explaining to me how people were seeing this as like, and I may be paraphrasing here, so I apologize, but basically explaining to me how like the community was seeing me as like turning on my morals and these things. And so I asked him directly, I was like, as someone that knows me and is part of my community, and obviously you have a perspective that like these things are important, and this is why I'm having this conversation with you. And I made sure to thank him, because he didn't have to have that conversation with me. He didn't have to give me the time of day. He didn't have to put that emotional labor into me, and he chose to do that anyway.
Yeah, you're right. He didn't need to put that emotional labor into you, because you shouldn't have needed that. He shouldn't have needed to do that. I think it was pretty obvious. Even if, yeah, that's something else that'll come up. I'm not entirely sure. Just in case it doesn't. Rosie says something, I don't know if it was during that live or during this. Rosie said something to the effect of she didn't think the joke was transphobic because it wasn't aimed at a trans person. And I'm just kind of floored by the comment, because like, it doesn't have to be aimed at someone within a group for it to be phobic about that group, right? You can be saying something transphobic to a straight person and it's still transphobic, right? I don't know if straight people is the right one, but anyway, my point is, just because you're not saying something hateful to a trans person doesn't mean it's not hateful towards trans people. Does that make sense? So Rosie's weird defense of, well, I don't think it's transphobic because it wasn't being said towards a trans person, that's a weird fucking defense. And it also makes no fucking sense. Right? It's still a transphobic joke. Okay? It's still wrong. You know, it's said in a room full of people where that person doesn't exist. It's still wrong.
Just to help me understand, and that is something that I don't take for granted, and that is something that I really appreciate a lot. And I'm just really trying to hold back my emotions. I'm trying. I don't want to cry. So I also apologize for that. This is a very emotionally charged thing for me. I want to believe the best in people, and I want to believe that those things that are being said are not being said with malicious intent. But at the end of the day, I did not just come out right and say that I didn't agree with those comments when I didn't, that I didn't think they were okay, because they weren't. Because I was scared. I was scared of conflict. I was scared of what could happen. And
you didn't come out and say that it was wrong because you were afraid of conflict. With who? With Amber? Why do you care? What power does Amber have that you need to be afraid of? This is the thing. it's kind of like the Shanny thing. I don't want beef with Shanny. What do you care? I don't want beef with Amber. Yeah, I had beef with Amber last year. Why do you care now? What has changed? What difference does it make? You were giddy to have beef with Amber last year, and now all of a sudden you don't care. You're scared to have a conflict with Amber? You were publicizing the beef you had with Amber last year. And now you can't call her out for a transphobic joke, even though you're an ally? And you're fully aware that it was wrong? That doesn't make sense. That makes no sense.
That's on me. That is solely my responsibility and no one else's. That is not Amber's fault. That is not y'all's fault. That's my fault. And I'm sorry for that.
The body language here feels performative. I don't know if it necessarily is. It just feels performative. However, this is one of those techniques that people use where they take minor responsibility for something in order to deflect responsibility for something larger later on.
I wanted to be someone that could be like a positive influence and someone that would be able to provide information, provide context, call things out as I see them privately, and not make it into content, not make it into a tit for tat Gorlwold bitch fight that some of you are bloodthirsty for.
You were bloodthirsty for it last year. What's new now? You did that yourself last year. Why is it different now?
Bloodthirsty. I see it all over. I screenshotted a comment the other day of someone literally saying that Amber, so everyone should tell Amber that she looks just like me and we should be sisters because eventually she'll get jealous and she'll lash out at me. Some of y'all are fucking crazy.
That's a weird comment, but whatever.
And that's the stuff that we bond over. And that I am able to talk to her in a way that isn't just about the content or whatever. And that is, on my end, coming from a genuine place. Because I'm only going to speak for myself. I'm not going to speak for her at all.
What? I mean, not the speaking for her part, but like... So you're bonding with Amber over shitty comments? Why are you bonding with Amber at all?
But I can't do that to my own detriment. And if I'm feeling cowardly and I'm not standing up for what I believe in and what I know to believe in, that's not okay. That's not who I am. I have been and always will be strongly against transphobia. And I should have, from the get-go, said that the comment itself was something I didn't agree with, that it wasn't okay, and all of those things, instead of trying to find ways to justify it. And I think it's in my best interest that I stop discussing these things in great detail and that I see myself out of her chat. And I think it's in the best interest of my community, and I think it's in the best interest of... I don't know why I said that. I don't know what else is in the best interest of, but all I can do at this point is apologize for the missteps that I've made and say that, you know, in the time that I've been talking to her privately, I feel like it's hard because I feel like anytime I try to talk about the positives, people just tell me I'm being manipulated. And at the end of the day, if I am or am not, I don't know what to say to that.
Considering how easily I saw her being manipulated by that bad guy, it, on the one hand, she seems like someone who can be easily manipulated, but it's because she allows it to happen. I don't know if she's necessarily, like, particularly oblivious or easily manipulated because she's simple. I think she's easily manipulated because she wants to be. I know that sounds weird, but there are people like that, and I think Rosie's one of them. I don't think she's stupid. I don't think Amber's particularly more intelligent or more clever. I think if Amber's manipulating Rosie, it's because Rosie wants to be manipulated. And the only reason I can think that Rosie would want that is so that later on down the road, she can be like, oh, I was being manipulated. Does it count? If you're being manipulated because you want to be, does it count? I don't know. I don't answer that question. But yeah, she's right in that the only thing she can do at this point is apologize. It's in the past. What can you do? Apologize and say, I won't do that again. And then not do it again. But also, don't try to continue to be friends with somebody who is setting you up. Whether it's intentional or not, that was a setup. And you walked right into it. Right?
Honestly. Like, if I'm just bearing my soul here and being honest, I'm not sure. And,
if the camera is here, why is she looking over here? What is she
I'm never
at?
going to come on here regarding her or other friendships that I've had and disparage people, talk badly about them, or bring drama that happened outside of the internet onto the internet.
Are you sure about that? Are you sure? You positive about that one?
Because I respect my friendships. I respect people that I choose to let into my life. I respect people that have spent a lot of time and love on me.
Didn't you just, like, not too long after this one, didn't you just get done, like, bad-mouthing somebody you tried to hook up with, and then there was, like, yeah, you spent a lot of time, like, anyway.
In a way that I will never go out of my way to harm them or be disrespectful towards them.
Bad-mouthing somebody you tried to hook up with, and then, like, bad-mouthing people who have been friends of yours or attempted to be friends of yours in the past, like, I've listened to you do it.
Like that.
Why is Amber special?
I've done that before, and I've learned those lessons in the hardest ways possible.
You've done it since this video.
And I'm not interested in doing that again. So I feel that based on how everything happened, I owe you guys an apology. And I never meant, or I guess, here we go with the word intent. I never intended to defend Amber, but I think especially in the beginning, that's kind of what I was inadvertently doing. And I didn't want the conflict, and I didn't want to add to the discourse. And I guess I just didn't make the connection that, like, me being publicly in her chat and publicly involved with her meant that people would expect me to publicly, like, commentate on everything that happens.
Commentate's not a word, but why wouldn't you make that connection? You were vocally defending her. You were in other people's chats defending her from Tammy. You were, I think, up in Tammy's comment section defending her, Amber, against Tammy. Like, you've been white knighting for Amber against Tammy in a lot of places. Like, why wouldn't you think people would be like, WTF, when you inadvertently start defending Amber's tasteless comments about people you're supposed to be an ally for? Why would you think people wouldn't want to know what the fuck you were doing?
And I think that was ill-advised of me. I think that was naive of me. And I think that if I piss off people that have like invested a lot of time in me and care about me again on a parasocial level, that
It's not how that word works.
matters to me. And so when these types of moments happen, I am someone that's going to sit back and reflect and think, and sometimes it might take me longer than it even did today, but I cannot thank my mod enough for taking the time to sit with me and telling me what they think exactly, and being able to have a conversation, and even at the end of it making me laugh. That was a funny joke. And just
Did you get that thing I sent you?
understanding that these missteps that I did make were not made maliciously. And I do have strong viewpoints on transphobia, fatphobia, all the phobias, all the isms, you know, like that's
Okay, first off, one thing I want to say here, which is me being vehemently against fat acceptance. Please do not put fat phobia and transphobia on the same fucking level. Just don't. Just stop now. It's not the same fucking thing. I don't care. Y'all come for me in the comments if you fucking want, but they're not the same thing. They're just not. So quit putting the two of them together. Fat phobia is not like any of the other phobias y'all try, y'all being the fat acceptance people, y'all try to group it in with. It is not the same. Okay? Stop it. It's gross. I need you to stop. Just putting it out there.
that's always been my stance, and I shouldn't let certain things sway me. That's not okay. I'm a grown adult and I'm responsible for that. And the only thing that I can do is hold myself accountable for that. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the chat back on. Hopefully things aren't insane. But I feel like I've talked enough. It's been I've been talking for almost 15 minutes. So a little nervous.
I think I want to stop here where she turns the chat back on. And I don't know. You guys let me know if you want me to go over the part where she's got her chat back on in a different video. But I think I've said what I want to say about this. And the thing that is troublesome to me is her saying, I don't want conflict with Amber. Because that's what she's saying here. I don't want conflict with Amber. Why? It didn't bother you last year. Why does it bother you this year? And the conflict that you would have had with Amber would have been over something that you claim is very important to you. Like, you claim to be an ally. You claim to not tolerate this kind of thing. Like, so why wouldn't that have been something that would have been okay for you to have a conflict over? If you really are friends, you should be able to have a conversation like that with each other and still be able to maybe work it out, right? So, I mean, this is something that Zachary Michael pointed out in their video. Yeah, sometimes you have a hard conversation with your friends, but if they're your friend, they can take a hard conversation and you guys can still converse. Like, maybe they're not your BFFFF, but you can still be real with people who are even, acquaintance style friends. And you can still be able to, like, salvage that friendship if you're being real, right? It's just something like that. Anyway, my point is, I don't understand her reluctance to go against Amber all of a sudden. Like, what has she got against you? What blackmail does she actually have? But this just goes back to what I was talking about at the first part of the video. Rosie seems to be throwing in with the darker side of Gorlwold, the grosser side of Gorlwold, in parts that I don't even talk about, right? There are girls in Gorlwold that I don't talk about. Shanny. And I don't get it. I don't understand why you want to be part of that side. I don't know why that's the side that you're like, ooh, I want a piece of that pie. That nasty rotten pie. I want that pie. I mean, I don't know why you want to be one of the girls to begin with, but you clearly do. But why that? Why not be one of the, slightly annoying funny girls like Anna? Anna's annoying as fuck, but it's just Anna. It's just Anna. She's delusional as all hell, but still just Anna. The most controversial thing Anna does is lift weights. She hikes in the wrong shoes. She's fucking annoying. That's really all Anna does. She gives out medical misinformation because she's an idiot. Okay, I can live with that. I can live with that. This is weird. This is wrong. This is the bragging path, and I can only think that if this is like rage bait. I can only think that this is like clout chasing. I cannot, for the life of me, understand this decision. But I'm sure there's shit that I do that people can't figure out why I do it either. So to each their own. All right. If you have made it this far in the video, go ahead and put a trans rights flag down in the comments section, but I don't know if that's an emoji. I'd like to think it is, but I don't think it is. Anyway, if it's not, I don't know. Get creative. And let me know what you guys think about what's going on. Am I reading too much into it? Am I being weird? I know there's a couple of you that are Rosie supporters. I've seen your comments, don't worry. I've seen them. So you guys let me know what you think down below. Do you want me to watch the rest of this? I can just start off at 15:05 and we'll just run with the rest of it with her talking to her chat. Where was I going to go with this? Yeah, that's all I've got for you guys about this. I do plan on doing more Rosie content from here on out. Probably not everything that she does because I have no interest in her eating content. Her cooking content's, I don't think she's the worst cook on the planet. She's just creative. She's more creative than Alexandra Rodriguez, let's put it that way. But not as funny. So I have no interest in that stuff. And right now she's planning on going to Vegas. That's weird. But there are things here and there that she does and she says that I might want to go over. So there's probably going to be times where I just kind of like clip things out and make a little video about a clip here and there. But as far as like sitting down and going over an entire live, we're not doing that shit. We're just not doing that shit. But if something comes up that you guys really want me to go over, let me know. And that's all I've really got for you guys. So again, if there's a trans right flag, go for it. If not, get creative. And otherwise, just let me know what you guys think down below. Please use timestamps. That does help me as far as remembering what the fuck I said. And yeah, I will see everybody in the next video.
This
Bye.
is my outro music. You can't copyright strike me because it's just me singing. This is my outro music. Thank you for watching. See you next time.